Okay, so today on Outcasts, it is just Hayley and I, and we're going to be talking more about relationships and parenting and everything that's involved in that, really. So from the start of the relationship through family planning, birth, and everything that comes with parenting. So lots of interesting topics.
Should be. Hope so.
Yeah, it's something that Hayley and I are both really interested in. We're both focusing our dissertations on autistic birth. And by that, we don't mean what causes autism during pregnancy or birth.
No risk factors here.
We mean, we're not going to talk about autistic uteruses. We're going to talk about what it's like to be an autistic woman going through the birth process and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Good little summary.
Yeah. So, we're going to start off with talking about relationships. And I guess the first thing is the myth that autistic people don't have relationships or get married or even have sex.
Yeah. That's quite a shock to some adults, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it is.
Yeah, when you disclose that you're married or you're in a relationship and you're autistic, you do get a change in behaviour, don't you? A little head tilt, a little taken aback gasp sometimes.
Yeah, I've had people assume that the father of my child must not be in the picture because how could I have possibly sustained a relationship? I think.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, no, we're still together. And it has been 18 years now, I think. I've lost count. But quite a while. And it's not always easy, of course, but still going strong. And I think in some ways, there are aspects for me of being autistic that make me far more invested in my relationship. I don't know if that's...
Invested? What kind of invested? Emotionally invested?
Yeah, and I think that I am far more logical about things. So when things aren't going necessarily as well as they could be, I can take a beat on that and think about the calculations, I guess.
The logic.
The logic of it.
Like a little marriage audit.
Yeah, kind of. Like a cost-benefit analysis.
No, I don't say that either to be... I know nothing about finance at all. I don't think I've ever actually done an audit, but I do recognise what you're saying there. It's based on logic. Emotion is definitely there, but I think that can be a plus point.
Yeah.
It can be.
Yeah.
And if you're in a relationship with someone who's also neurodivergent themselves, in my case my husband's autistic, we can both sit down at the end of the day when the kids have gone to bed and we can be quite practical.
Yeah.
But one of the sticking points a lot of the time is misreading each other's intentions for things we said in the day. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad that I'm finally in a relationship with somebody else who's autistic or somebody else who understands me enough that they know I am going to worry about those little, well, you tilted your head or you put a different intonation on it, and I worry about that all day. But he absolutely understands that because he struggles with gauging intent as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me as well, it's... I've lost my thread. Hold on. For me, I think it's really difficult in relationships sometimes because you never get a moment where you don't have to think about somebody else.
Yeah.
Which is hard for anyone, I think, but I think when you're autistic, it means having to continually kind of do the sums and work out what does this other person need, what have I done to upset them, what could I do better, what could I do differently, and I don't think that's necessarily just the pressure from the other partner, you know, that your partner puts on you to do that, but the pressure you put on yourself.
Yeah.
I
think that's part of the way we've been raised as women, as girls, that the emotional responsibility 90% of the time will fall on us. And as girls, we have to fix and look out for other people's emotions. And while that can be good, we can be a bit more nuanced and recognise what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
It can be quite overwhelming, especially if you're struggling with communication or executive function, because you've got to maintain that relationship and all the admin and life stuff that comes with that, and then you've got the emotional responsibility, and that stress can, for me, really impact my executive function. If something's unspoken or there's something that's not quite right in the relationship, it will affect the rest of my life, including executive function.
Yeah, I think for me the hardest part is if my partner is unhappy or angry or anything like that. I suppose it's a bit egocentric in a way, but I always think that I've done something wrong, so he's angry at me.
Yes.
Or he's upset with me and he's just not saying why, when in reality it might just be having a really bad day.
Yeah.
And it's taken a long time to kind of realise not to take everything really personally, and it's still very much a work in progress.
I think that's the underlying anxiety that can be quite a common co-occurring issue. We all, a lot of us know that, but it's that difficulty is reading the intention. So you can be, that's me that's done that, therefore I have to fix it. And if you haven't got time in the day to communicate that, you're worrying all day that he's upset with me because I didn't open the blinds at a certain time this morning, and you're trying to find the logic to it. But the reality is that he's trying to spend his downtime once the kids have gone to bed, trying to work out if dinosaurs had feathers. But when I'm looking at his face, I'm thinking, is this the end? No, he's thinking about dinosaurs.
Yeah. And I think that's the other thing as well, is that every time anything feels even slightly not right, it's the end now.
Yeah, that catastrophizing.
Yeah, so I mean, even after all of this time, sort of 18 years of proving that it isn't, every time I think something is slightly wrong, that's it, it's over now. Oh my God, that's it, the hammer's about to fall, you know? Yeah.
It's quite the perfect storm, isn't it? The stress, executive dysfunction or function, catastrophizing, anxiety, social communication. It can, in a relationship, is a perfect little maelstrom of stress, isn't it? And again, like I said, when you're raised as a female, we're raised that emotionally we have to look out for others.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, if you're dependent on your partner as well, that's another aspect, I think.
Yeah.
Or if they're dependent on you.
Yeah.
So lots of autistic people have partners that are really de facto carers. They provide a lot of care and support that perhaps isn't recognised, or that other people don't realise that they're doing. So my partner provides a huge amount of care and support for me. So in a way, it always feels like I'm in the red as well in the relationship, you know?
Guilt.
Yeah, like I've got to do my fair share sort of thing and make up for it. And that's really hard as well, I think. But there is a lot of, I guess, internalised ableism as well in that, plus being a female, like you said, it all kind of more of a perfect storm going on.
That guilt, and you feel like you have to fix your own guilt, even though, yeah, absolutely. Sometimes we do have long, fruitful talks about our relationship, and one of the things that has come up many times over the years is his internalised ableism, his guilt that I'm his carer, and it's a very difficult one to address, because the issues that he has are never going to go away. And that internalised ableism at, he's nearly 40 now, that's quite difficult to assure him that that's not the case,
Yeah.
But it definitely makes our relationship different to that of other peers. especially in their perceptions of a relationship when one is a carer and one isn't, people who have never been in that situation find it difficult to understand how it can also be a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
Don't they?
Yeah. It is really hard to have the balance between romance and caring in some ways. But for me, it makes the most sense in the world in other ways.
Do you find that you've got a different perception of romance to other people?
Yeah, so I always said that I'd play, if I were ever to get married, I'd play Coldplay's Fix You. And everybody thought that was a bit strange. But for me, having somebody that is loyal and consistent, dependable, and that is willing to see you at your worst and still keep showing up, that to me is, you know, I don't know what could be more romantic than that. But other people have a kind of different view of things, I guess.